Well, bad, everybody. How's everybody feeling today? All right. We're very glad to be here as representatives, once again, of the United Nuwaubian family, of the Nuwaubian family. We are, to those new people that are here, an organization that's based on historical facts, things that can be researched, things that can be verified. This is why Christians, Muslims, and Jews are upset at us, because every time we go to their religious gatherings and ask them questions, they can never seem to answer the questions that we ask. Every time we walk up to a brother, say for instance, a Freemason, when we walk up to these supposed Freemasons and ask them, is the lodge, or is the Freemasonic lodge that you attend, is that a universal order? What will they say? Yes, they'll say yes. This is a universal order, brother. This is an order that everybody of all races and all nationalities can join, and there's no racism inside of Freemasonry. And we say, I look at your symbol, and I look at the way y'all stand, and that symbol that's in your chest, the compass and the square, what is that in the middle? They say it's a G. I say, what does the G have to do with Solomon's temple? Or what does the G have to do with ancient Africa or ancient Egypt? Or where can I find the G in the Native American writings? The G is a British and English letter. When they present these facts to them, they have to step back and say, dang, that's true. We also present facts to the Nation of Islam and to 5%ers. We ask them, what is a 5%er? And they have no idea. They come up to us and they say, 5% is God, black man. 5% is God. You know what I'm saying? Word ball, what up, God? We're like, a 5%er, according to your lessons, is a poor righteous teacher who's all wise, right, and exact, who doesn't believe in the teachings of the 10% and knows who the true and living God is. The true and living God is the Son of Man, the supreme black man of Asia, who teaches freedom, justice, and equality to all of the human families, including Muslims and Muslim sons. That's how you answer a question. That's what we present to the 5%ers. When we say, are you really 5%? Because according to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, according to Malcolm X, according to your teacher, Farrakhan, or Khalid Muhammad, they all say there's 24 million black people in America. We know that number is off, but we'll just go with them. We'll say, okay, fine, there's 24 million black people in America. If your lessons say you're all wise, right, and exact, we have a question. Can we do some mathematics? If there's 24 million black people in America, that would mean that there's 1,150,000 5%ers. Is there, let me ask you a question. Is there 1,150,000? Because 5% of 24 million would be 1,150,000. And there was not over 1,000,000 5%ers in 1934. Where do you get your numbers from? They say, well, brother, it's symbolism. Well, explain the symbolism. I'll get back to you. This is how it always happens. This is why we're here. We're here to present the facts so you can present information to our fellow brothers, the Rastafarians, our fellow brothers, the Christians, our fellow brothers, the Sunni Muslims, our fellow brothers, the Nation of Islam, our fellow brothers, the Freemasons, and let them know that the person that's teaching you just doesn't have the facts. But there is an organization in this day and time, the Nuwaubian family, who is here to present facts. This is why we present ourselves in front of individuals and allow ourselves to be questioned by people, and we have absolutely no idea what y'all are going to ask. On that note, what I'd like to do, what we would like to do, is open up this class for some questions and answers. What y'all want to talk about? Who got the first question? What's up, big man?
I wanted to ask about the meteorites supposed to be coming November 16th.
What's that?
The meteorites are supposed to be coming November 16th. About the impact or the seriousness of it, basically. And that's all.
All right. It's interesting now that people are asking about the meteorite shower and the meteorite that's coming. They say there's a meteorite or meteorite shower coming, and nobody seems to want to talk about it. When you step into the church or you step into the mosque and you ask them, I believe in your Prophet Muhammad, I believe in your Jesus, I believe in all that, but I'd like to know, what is Jesus going to do when meteorites come and hit the planet Earth? What is Haile Selassie going to do when meteorites hit the planet Earth? This is the question that we ask individuals. Individuals, people and organizations don't understand the seriousness of the meteorite showers coming. What happens is that they say a meteorite shower is coming, what? When you say November 16th. Last year, at this exact same time, a news article came out in a magazine called Effects Magazine. This was 1997. November 16th, this came out. This magazine said that scientists have logged that there are over 3,000 meteorites coming. And these meteorites are traveling at 50,000 miles an hour. Now 3,000 meteorites traveling at 50,000 miles an hour, what are you going to do, Big? I'm asking you, just out of curiosity, what would you do if you looked up in the sky and you saw 3,000 meteors, small metallic balls of meteors, heading towards this planet at 50,000 miles an hour? What would you do? Would you pray to Jesus? What would you do? What is Jesus going to do? Now what happens is that this article and these scientists are also saying that the atomic reaction that these meteorites are going to have when they hit the planet is going to be 10 times that of the H-bomb. How many people here are familiar with the H-bomb? What is the effect? My brother Ruben, could you pass the microphone back to my man? What is the effect of the H-bomb?
Basically, it's radiation that hits the planet. I think it's a hydrogen bomb to be exact.
Right. What effect would that have on human beings if that would hit the planet? One H-bomb.
The radiation will mess up a lot of generations of people from
Right. Right, it would mess up your genes and your generations and turn your children into retards, quadriplegics. Now, how about 10 H-bombs hitting the planet at 50,000 miles an hour, 3,000 of them times 10? What effect do you think that would have?
Destroy the planet?
It could destroy the planet. What these scientists are doing, what NASA is doing right now, is they're sending up a 5-ton shuttle. A 5-ton shuttle that will explode by the meteorites. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to explode a 5-ton shuttle by the meteorites, right? And this 5-ton space shuttle is composed of neutrons and X-rays. And they expect this to explode near the meteorites that are coming so it can veer the meteorites away. They have come to the conclusion, for the effects of the meteorites that it will have, they've come to the conclusion that if these meteorites hit the planet Earth, what will happen is called a nuclear winter. Who here is familiar with the nuclear winter? A nuclear winter is simple. Right, my man said it. If these meteorites hit the planet Earth at a certain velocity, they can kick dust particles up into the sky that would get trapped in the clouds, and it would literally block the sun's rays, causing a nuclear winter. This same thing happened 17,250,000 years ago. If the dust particles block the sun's rays from hitting the planet Earth, crops dies, harvest dies, animals die, and you don't get any sunlight. Understand? This is the seriousness of these meteorite showers coming. So what are they going to do, and why are they not speaking about this every single day? Halley's Comet. A comet that nobody seems to want to talk about. That comes into this galaxy. And people aren't talking about this. This comet, what the scientists just discovered, here's another effect of what these meteorites or these comets could have. In the tail of Halley's Comet, there is an element called cyanogen. And cyanogen is a highly flammable gaseous element. They're afraid that if the elements in Halley's Comet were to interact with the hydrogen of this planet, it would blow the planet up. Now why? Why is it that nobody's speaking about this? Why is it? Have you ever heard of this magazine? Why is it only in one magazine? This should be in every single newspaper. This should be in every single news article. Unless the people who know about this have another alternative, where they have built bases on Mars to escape. They plan, check this out now, they plan by the date 2012. An article came out about this called Exploring the Red Planet by Seth Borenstein. An article came out and said by the date 2012, they're going to have 6 individuals on the planet Mars. I'm going to ask y'all a question. Y'all read the books, right? What is after 2012? 2000 and... Why would they have it set up to have people, individuals, on the planet Mars by 2012? Because the next year is what? What is it? Y'all read the books? Right, the next year is the opening of the vortex. They need to get out of here before our ancestors come. Right in front of your face, they have Disneyland. In Disneyland, there's a large ball, a large metallic ball called the Epcot Center. How many people here knows what the word Epcot stands for? Does anybody know? How many people, let me ask another question. How many people here have been to Disneyland? How many people here have visited the Epcot Center in Disneyland? Now you're visiting this thing, having fun in it, but what is the meaning of it? Epcot Center. is an acronym for the experimental E, prototype P, experimental prototype community C of tomorrow, an experimental prototype community of tomorrow. It's symbolic of a biosphere that the establishment has set up on the planet Mars. They know that in order to escape this meteorite shower, they have to escape this planet. They have to leave the planet. This is why they're setting up bases on Mars as we speak. Our ancient ancestors know the exact same thing though. They know that their children also would have to leave this planet or turn their bodies inside out. See, if you're only in tune with hydrogen up to the 99th element, then anything that affects from 1 to 99 affects you. If you have the ability, though, to bypass that and go on the other side of hydrogen or turn your body inside out, whatever happens to this physical planet will not affect you. If you have the ability and access to an organization that knows this, then you will also have an alternative, because the establishment of the government has nothing to do with you. They do not want to save you. They have a Project Biosphere 2, which has nothing to do with you. They're planning to get out of here. They want to get out of here before these meteorite showers come. That's why they've already gone out of here. Those who are in tune with the program are not afraid of the meteorite showers because we know what to do. We know where what Christians call salvation lies. We know how to escape these meteorite showers. And, like we said before, the Theonicians recorded these 7 thunders coming already. The Native Americans have a tablet called the Theonician. Lori Torre had a map with certain safe spots on this planet. And this was one of them, called Wahani. This was a spot where a vortex resided. This was a safe spot that the Native Americans always spoke of. We tried to warn individuals and they wouldn't listen. Now we don't want everybody to now be afraid and go, they won't save us, they won't help us, let's go out there and become a part of the Nation. No, we're not saying that. We're not saying that. We're just saying stay close to the organization and you will be instructed. But if you look at the way that the scrolls are written, you'll see scroll 1, scroll 28, scroll 68, scroll 3, scroll 99. They're not in order. Do y'all notice that? They're not scroll 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because if you wrote them all in order, then the enemy, or those of Zuen's children, would be able to follow us step by step by step. So he might say something, throw them off there, okay, fine, we're Egyptian Christian church, okay, fine, boom, and throw people off. This is what we have to do in this day and time. Understand? And on that note, with all due respect, I pass the microphone to my brother on the right.
Are there any other questions?
I would like to know what is the great significance behind the priesthood of Melchizedek being chosen by God as an everlasting priesthood?
It's explained in the book of Hebrews, within the 66 books of the Bible. They say that this Melchizedek, now we in right knowledge, we are taught to analyze words. If you read any of our publications that the elders have put together for us to elevate us intellectually, spiritually, and emotionally, you will see that we spend a lot of time on words themselves. Now, there in the Bible, especially in the English translations, because it was written in codes by William Shakespeare, who literally penned his name there in the books of Psalms. And instead of taking it from the original text and then thoroughly explaining it as your leaders, teachers, and preachers should be doing, they don't do that. So they left things like that unexplained and then give you a superficial definition of these things, and then you are literally spooked out. Okay, this is what our objective is in order to break this. So we as representatives, as a triad from AtumRe, we are bringing this information to you. So there in the book of Hebrews, it talks about 2 priestly orders, right? And then this Melchizedek, and by the way, you won't find, by way of the English translations, you won't be able to associate that Melchizedek is an angelic being. Now we say that, yes, well, he's mentioned there in the book of Revelations as Michael, but because they don't do in-depth studies on the languages, they won't be able to marry the two, to be able to see that one was taken out of Aramic Hebrew, from which the larger portions of the Old Testament was in, and then another portion was from AtumRe, from which Revelation was in, realizing that it's Michael, or Melchizedek, being it one who is like El, who is a defending or a warring angel. Now, he also wrote a book that is in the last book of the Old Testament. That is Melchizedek's book, but it's referred to as Malachi. So again, you'd have the name for this particular being there, but it's in 3 different renderances of translations. So they won't be able to marry the two. So what this order was set up to do for Abraham, Abraham was one who they saw that they would initiate him into the order of Zadok, the order of the Most High. While Abraham was being born, Nimrod, who was in rule at the time, he kept the old-time worship, or the old-time religion. And the old-time religion was to give reverence to El, to one on high. Nimrod was so profound that as a god, the same thing that we're trying to elevate ourselves up to, as a god, he went against the prescribed ways that was given to him by the gods or the intercessors, one being Tammuz, another being Enki or Enlil. So he rose up and he wanted to deal strictly with El. There you see in the writings of the Genesis story and Genesis, the 11th chapter, where he built a tower and edifices that would still mesmerize men to this very day in all of our modern technologies, that they would classify it as one of the 7 wonders of the world. So here, these beings who were responsible for the breeding process of the Adamites saw that one who was raising himself in degrees, and so they gave him a test. You read it there in the books of Genesis when he was given a portion of land. But yet he turned the land that was very fertile in the riches over to Lot, who was his nephew. And he took the portion of land that was not fertile at all. So in that, he literally passed the first test. Because instead of taking the riches, right, he chose the wisdom. And in choosing the wisdom, they initiated him into a higher order. And it was Melchizedek, who in ancient times was referred to as Marduk. And all throughout different civilizations, the same being who is referred to by different names. But in the Bible, they give us these angelic beings. Never do they tell us where they came from. At best, we get there from heaven. Once we elevate in degrees in our understanding, we start to question, well, where exactly is heaven? And the definitions, even if we research the languages, we'll only see that heaven is either Samawati or Shemish, which is up there. Up there where? So if you get that question started and ready to ascend to a higher understanding of it, you'll see that they're dealing with star constellations, where they superficially explain this in the books of Ezekiel, when they refer to Arcturus, Pleiades, you see, or Europa. All of these are different planets or star constellations from which beings that are of high intelligence came in order to give certain information. So here they set up an order. Right? Those that they would teach the greater mysteries to. And then they set up another priestly order of those who would give the lesser mysteries. So when you elevate in degrees, and that's what our 9-dimensional program in HTM is all about, from the Holy Tabernacle Ministries, you're just dealing with Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the lesser mysteries. Then when you start to elevate and thoroughly become diligent students, where you start to just read the book and you start to analyze the message that's being conveyed. You go to the point where you even scrutinize by verifying the doctrine and see that it's fact beyond any doubt. Not moving to the point where you have to criticize, because if you're patient, the information will be revealed to you. So they set up these particular orders for the people to keep things that are secret, sacred. Because they saw if this information was put into the hands of fools, what would happen to it. So Abraham was one that was initiated into the orders. And all of the prophets that you see were also initiated into that order as well, according to the Bible, as they tell the story. And if you notice, the part that they leave out of the story is that they all had some type of association with ancient Mitzrayim, ancient Kemi, AtumRe, who is presently known as Egypt. They all had some type of association with Egypt. But what were those mystical orders, that they were associated with? Which ties into a question that was asked of the Triad last week that we weren't able to answer, but in further studies, and after we sat down and talked to the elders, they were able to reveal this information to us. Some of you who were here last week may remember the question being asked was about Adafa. And the question was, if Adafa was built the pyramids that Khufu is being associated to, and he was assisted by extra-terrestrial, then what was the dynasty that he resided under while doing so, and what was his name? You see, now that's a good point, because even when you read there, you see that Adafa, who you know as Enoch, and they don't give you the meaning of the name. They give you Adam, they give you Eve, or Hawa, and they don't give you the meaning of the name. But his name there in Enoch deals with when he was taken up. Paul talks about that Enoch was taken up and he was not. Those that have an understanding would ask the question, he was not what? He was not because they're not explaining how he was taken out of this realm. And his name, if they explain the meaning of his name, would show how he was taken up. That's dealing with the equinox. Something that we're preparing for now. When the solar alignment, when the gates of heaven open up, and we'll be able to transcend through the vortexes that takes place every 6,000 years. This is how we got that association, or in his name he's referred to as Enoch, or in tones, as it's given in the holy tablets, as Ahnuch. That would be his name. Now, we give a lot of attention to the pyramids in Giza because of their magnitude. They're one of the 7 wonders of the world. They can't figure out how these structures are still standing. In some form or fashion, they try to tie these structures into the confines of the lesser degrees by way of the Bible. How they have to try to confine into a time vacuum of just 6,000 years. And it's because of wonder, because they can see now through advanced technologies of computer dating, or even the old dating systems of carbon dating systems, that they predate that by thousands of years. But they don't deal with that, and so that's why they don't deal with the stories when the prophets there went into Egypt. But see, that we pay a lot of attention to those edifices, not realizing that in Luxor or in Sudan, there's 80 different pyramids there, and only the great ones. And that's why when you do the research and you find that going in these pyramids, you see that there's no informations of higher learning. There's no real information. All of the sciences are given in the pyramids in Sudan. You see? And realize that there was 3 different involvements of beings who came down and gave information to mortals here on the planet. You had the Anunnaki, the Elohim, that landed in the Persian Gulf, in Eridu, and they taught the Sumerians, who were in a Homo erectus state at the time. Then you had the Neteru, and they came, and then they taught in ancient AtumRe, and they taught the inhabitants of that land. And then you also have the Nomos of the Dogon tribe, and I was of Somalia, and they taught them. So all of these 3 different beings of advanced information, they taught, and you have all of their records and their writings. But all of the highest forms of math and the sciences and the information that are of these higher orders that Abraham was initiated into, you'll find there in Upper Egypt that is really south. And you don't find all of the information that was then given from the Neteru to Ahnuch or Enoch or Adafa, because then it was after him that Khufu then reconstructed the pyramids. Okay? So going back to your question there in the books of Hebrews, it's given two different orders. One order of the Most High, that all of us, if we elevate in degrees, would be initiated into, because we only have a short period of time in order to be like El, to be gods. That is what we will have to do to get out of here. A question was asked earlier about the meteorite showers. And the brother asked each of us of the Triad, were we afraid of that? We're not, because we're elevated to Godship and ready to take on to the responsibility. And the taking on a responsibility knows that whatever happens, we can deal with whatever happens. If the meteorite showers came down and hit both of those pyramids, we know that we have a whole lot of work to do to rebuild them. And that's what a God would do. Everyone else who is immortal, looking to pin the responsibilities onto someone else, they're the ones who are scared. So of these higher orders of the Most High, it was given to the gods. And then of the lesser mysteries was given to the priesthood. Now the priesthood was responsible for going out and teaching the spoken words in order to keep certain things that are sacred a secret. And they only gave certain information as those mortals were able to elevate towards. Did that answer your question? Okay, thank you. And with that answer, with all due respect, I'll pass it on to Brother Hufflepuff.
Yes, I'd like to know what species are the Anunnaki. Okay, when you say what species are the Anunnaki, let's go to the Holy Tablets for a moment. If we go to the Holy Tablets, chapter 1. Just one moment. So I get the right one. Chapter 1, tablet 6. And we go to verse 49 in El's Holy Tablets, and it says, the Orion is constellation located on the celestial equator, east of Taurus. That's another constellation. It is an oblong configuration with 3 stars in line near its center in the Orion belt, called the nebula. It is represented on the pictorial charts as the figure of Orion. It was called Sahu, the soul of Osir, or Osaro, or Osiris. 3 bright stars representing his belt. The first, El-Nitak, the second, El-Nilam, and the third, Mintaka. This is the home of the agreeable Anunnaki, or Aluhum. Now when you ask the question, what species are the Anunnaki, you must recognize that the Sumerians were the ones who labeled them Anunnaki. They were originally called Anutu. These were the beings coming from Ilion. That's just one descendancy. You had the beings called the Nitiru, who came from Cyrus. They landed in what you're calling Egypt today, or Tamare, or some say Kemet. This is where they landed, and that was another breeding. Then you had another group called the Nomos, which is the word Samoan and backwards, these reptilians who also, and there were 2 types of Nomos. There were the Nomos, the reptilians, the instructors or lawgiver, and then there was the Nomos, the Ramadians called Narians, the Greys, who also instructed the Dogon. That's another group. Then you also had the Tiru, or Teros, the cone head-shaped beings, and they were teaching our Native American ancestors. So when you say species, the Anunnaki are a species that resemble you. This was put in a calendar that our organization put out a few years back called the extra-terrestrial. The calendar just dealt with the different species of extraterrestrials. The Anunnaki stand 6 to 7 feet tall, olive tone skin, are of such a nature that if you were to pull a weapon on one of them to hurt them, they would let you shoot them rather than hurt you, because they understand that once you raise up to a certain level of degrees, you can't do anything for yourself, nor can you do anything against yourself. In other words, they let that which is to be exist. They let things take their natural course. That's just one species. Then you have the Riskian, which is another species. All of this information is explained in the book Man from Planet Risk, which is still out. Have you gotten that book, brother? See, if you have, this is why this level of information is being put in book form. See, unlike Minister Farrakhan, Yahweh Ben Yahweh, Benjamin Carter, and all these so-called leaders who just lecture you with a bunch of information that you're not able to retain, because even as you're sitting here today, and as the Triad of AtumRe, as we're teaching you, when you go home, there's no way in heck or hell that you're going to remember everything that we're saying today. Some of you bought pen and paper, which is the proper way to come to class, and others must go and get the information from the Pyramid Mall, get the books, take it home and dissect it, so that you begin to identify with the different species of beings that you have descended from. As we're sitting here right now, everybody just look around for a quick moment. You see some people with an olive tone, some people that are purplish, black as they say, some that are reddish tone, some that have a yellowish or goldish undertone. All of these are different descendancies. This is why it explains in L's Holy Tablets in this first chapter, it explains to you that there are over 400 species of extraterrestrials that exist on Nibiru. And AtumRe, as he explains here in this book, and the elders teach us this, and as the Triad of AtumRe, we're bringing this information to you so that you will know again, so that you will recognize that though we are all Nuwaubians, we all descend from different beings. We've been taught years ago by our elders how there's more than 144,000 beings that must be spared. There's 144,000 on this density on which you exist. The Nintiru, or the Kachina, or the Ginwins, or the Shishuki, or the Umari, or the Nomos, or the Anunnaki, or the Malaikat, or the, they say Theos, or the Angelos. All of these are different beings who all are in the family, tracing their roots back to Ilium. Remember that when on risk the ozone layer was depleting, we launched out thousands of Nibiru. The word Nibiru, which means the planet that crosses the sky, all of these were crafts that were constructed coming out of the Nibiru province on risk. When we launched out in different directions going throughout the galaxy or the universe, as we migrated and got further and further away from the home world, we came in contact with different beings and had to adjust and adapt our life forms to the environment in which we were. And our cultures had to adapt in accordance. This is why when we speak of the Council of 24, not the spiritual, as you say, Council of 24, not to be confused with the Galactical Council, when we speak of the Council of 24, they'll say Yanun is the representative from the 19th galaxy. And then another, known to you as Sendalfon, the 23rd elder, or Senenda, he's the representative from Mazarov. You have different constellations and they come together, all of them tracing their roots back to the home world risk. Y'all understand? This is the same thing you do today in your country, America, when we have ambassadors that go to different countries to represent America. You understand? So when you ask the question, what species, they're very similar to you and I because we are their descendants. However, depending on the environment that they're living in, they must adapt, just like you must also be made to adapt. As this planet is now going into this next epoch, or this next 25,000 year cycle, where you're coming into your solar alignment. Well, we're not the only ones singing it. They're talking about 5/5/2000. That's the date they're giving. And when this alignment takes place, you must be made prepared. You have meteorite showers that are already hitting. The results, ionized particles of metal in the atmosphere, being heated or, magnetized by the sun's rays, and the result of this, some people are experiencing headaches. There's more deformities. There's more diseases. There's something taking place. So now even you as human beings, our species is metamorphosizing. Years ago, the average man stood 6 foot and up. Now the average man's 5-something, average human being. The average person years ago wore a size 10. The average person now was down to a size 8. We are evolving. Even here, and our descendants or our ancestors, the Anutu, the Ilu, the lofty ones, they are trying to raise us up. And this is why it was necessary for them to raise up 24 elders from amongst you that would be able to guide you. Now, where we're sitting is the 19th lodge. And over this lodge sits the 19th elder, Yanu. Or we refer to him as our head, or that he who gave birth to us, his triad, our father, because he gave birth to us by raising us in degrees, AtumRe, AtumRe. You understand? And this is the level of information that the Luciferians don't want you to get. They want you to be under the impression that you're going to die and go to some place called heaven, somewhere up there in the sky. And that's just not real. You understand? The brother asked earlier about when you get what I knew. Each one of you must recognize that the Most High already exists in you. They got you looking for something or someone somewhere out there. This is not what we taught in ancient Talmud. This is not what we taught in ancient Sumeria. This is not what we taught as the Olmecs. We taught that you must recognize that the divine is in you, or as Plato took from the Egyptian mystery schools or the Talmudian mystery schools, Plato said the mask that the actor is wearing is apt to become his face. So the school is to approach the mask, then to transcend the mask of God, place that mask on, and then you will realize you have become God, and he or she or whoever it was that brought you to that level becomes great. You understand? Any other questions?